Okay.
Jason Rees, Research Horticulturist, UT Gardens.
Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Celeste Scott, the UT Extension agent here in Madison County. We're so happy to be hosting y'all out here at the gardens, the UT Gardens Jackson. Jason's with us again today, and we're going to be featuring some of our annual trials. And so I'm just going to kind of turn it over to him, and we're going to try to do better for audio this time, okay? So enjoy the talk, and make sure that if you have questions, put it in the chat box so we can get them answered, okay?
Good morning all. Jason Reeves, UT Gardens in Jackson. I'm the research horticulturist here. We have Carson by our side that's kind of following along.
Hello.
So we're going to talk about annual trials today. But first I want to start out by welcoming you to the Gardens in Jackson. The University of Tennessee Gardens has 3 locations, one in Knoxville on the Ag Campus, one in Crossville at the Research Education Center there, and the Research Education Center in Jackson here where we are today. The gardens are open daylight to dark year-round, and we invite you to visit one of those. So we're going to talk a little bit about annual trials today. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of history about the trials. The trials were actually started in Knoxville at the gardens there, and in 2002 when I came here, part of my job was to expand the trials here in the Jackson location. They'd already been doing a little bit, so those have grown through the years. We actually trial for 3 different large companies. First is Proven Winners. You're probably all familiar with the Proven Winner brand. Suntory, you may not be so familiar with that brand because it's not one that's really publicized as a brand. They own brands like Sundinia and a lot of the Dipladenias, the Mandavillas, and they're actually new this year for us. And then Ball. And Ball Flora Plant is a big company, and there are other companies that fall under Ball. And Pan American Seed is one of their seed divisions. We've been growing Pan American plants for many, many years. Selecta One is another one of their companies, and also Cref. And so then there's Ball, or Ball Flora Plant itself. So those are the companies that we're currently trialing for. And we're just going to talk about a little different of those plants as we go through the garden today. We receive those plants either as plugs, so it's a rooted cutting. It may have been grown from tissue culture originally, or taken as a cutting, or seed. And those will come in depending on what the plant material is. Typically, if it's a cutting or a rooted cutting or a plug, comes in March or April. We plant it in the greenhouse. We grow it on typically in a 3-inch pot, and then it's planted in the garden in May and June. If it's seed grown, the seed come to us in the fall, winter, sometimes early spring, and then we plant those seed out depending on how long it takes for the seed to get plant to get large enough to put in the garden. Most of those plants are then put into 3 packs or 6 packs in the greenhouse. So if it's seed grown, and then again it goes out in the garden the same time that all the plug material goes out. We'll talk a little bit about bed prep and a little bit later on. But a little bit more about when we bring them out to the garden, we evaluate them 4 times during the summer. And typically do that at the end of June, the end of July, the end of August, and the end of September. And so we're evaluating them 4 times a year. It's on a scale from 0 to 5, of course 0 being dead, 5 being fantastic, and then all in between.
And those criteria that you are judging them on, they're different for each type of plant, so like perennials are judged differently. They have different criteria than say, some annuals. Foliage plants like coleus, for example, you're not going to give them a bad marking because they don't have a really pretty bloom because they're a foliage plant.
Correct. Actually, with the coleus, you don't want it to bloom because it actually takes away from the foliage. So, we're looking at all sorts of things. I mean, the big picture is it performing well? Is it something somebody would want in their landscape? And something someone would purchase. So that's the overall what we're looking for. But we're looking for disease resistance. If it's a plant that's supposed to bloom well, does it have to be require lots of deadheading, which we don't deadhead because we're putting them out here to let them do their thing. How does it perform in the heat and humidity? So important. All those things.
If they can't take heat and humidity, we don't want them.
That's right. We trial in ground, but we also have some things in containers, and we'll talk about the container plants in another episode. Some of the plants we grow in the ground as well as containers, and part of that's the reason is we want to see how they do in both locations. Some plants just perform better in containers, such as Calibrachoy, or you may know them as Million Bells, the trademark name, and so we no longer put those in the ground. Now there's some plants like Scaevola we do in the ground as well as a container. It typically does better in a container, especially if you've got a wet spring like we did this year. So we'll have some plants in multiple locations and different growing conditions to see how they perform. And again, we kind of average that out through the season. As I mentioned, the gardens are open daylight to dark year round. So if you come out, say, once a month, you're going to see how things change throughout the summer. If you come one time, you're going to maybe fall in love with something that looks terrible later in the year, or something not blooming earlier in the season, maybe blooming beautifully later on. So we encourage you to come out often. So again, once we plant these, we evaluate these. That data is all compiled at the end of the season, and it's actually put on our website for the public to see. But then, of course, we send it back to those companies, and it helps those companies better market that plant material for different regions of the country. You know, a plant that's going to do well in Boulder, Colorado, may not do as well in Tennessee, and vice versa. You know, there's things that need heat that do better here than maybe they do in a cooler climate. So
right. So just because it didn't perform well here doesn't mean that the plant, you know, isn't worth, you know, marketing, because it could perform well in other areas.
Absolutely. So. And pretty much, and I think I'm right with this, all the plant material we get is already had so much research done into it. It's going to be on the market if it's not already. But again, it may be marketed in different areas of the country. So it's going to be a good plant somewhere. And so, yeah, occasionally we get something that never makes it to the market, but that's very, very rare. Some of the plants we also get are already on the market, and the company's just wanting to showcase them as well. And you may have been able to buy them this year at the garden center, but we've got them again in the trials. And
a good example would be those new...
Yeah, the Suncredible sunflowers from Proven Winter. So we received these last year. They're readily available now, but aren't they fantastic? So we're thrilled they continue to send us those to us because we enjoy having them in the garden. So we'll also be talking about some things that are already on the market. So yeah, the Suncredible is great. It is you get this little plant, well, depending on what size you buy, but when we got the plugs in last year, they're this tall, put them in a 3-inch pot. I'm telling you, they just didn't look like much. And we put them in the landscape. Oh my gosh, did they take off. So you're looking at planting here. There's probably maybe 8 plants here total. They end up being about 3 by 3. You can see them flowering now. You do not have to deadhead them to keep them flowering. They will flower right up until a hard freeze. Now, later in the season, they begin to look, a little ratty, as most things do by late September, early October, but they're still hanging on last year when we had a big freeze. I'm sure if you deadheaded them, they would flower even better, but again, we don't do that. They make great cut flowers as well. They don't have real long stems, and they are sterile, so they're pollenless, and so you don't have to worry about pollen if you're going to have them on your dining room table dropping pollen around.
I will add that I've had these for the first time in my garden this year, and they have been wonderful. And I have been deadheading them, but I can't tell that it makes that big of a difference because, as you can see here, there's a spent flower. I mean, they're all over, and we still have large amounts of new blooms coming on. So, I've just been doing it for my own I guess happiness.
But I have these in my garden at home this year as well. And the other day I made arrangement with some, and if you look at the flower here where the petals have fallen off, or I actually just pull them off, that's attractive as well.
Sure
so
is.
I use that in my arrangement because it was attached to a branch with a flower, and so that's attractive as well. So fantastic plant.
Another cool thing about using these in arrangements is that they are branched, so you don't always just get one bloom on the very end of a stem, and it kind of helps you create some structure in your...
Absolutely, it stabilizes your arrangement. If you're making an arrangement, oftentimes you want something that's branchy to go in the arrangement first because it helps hold other plants in place, and that's definitely the case with the Suncredible sunflower from Proven Winter.
I'm loving it.
All right, let's talk a little bit about petunias. This is the Easy Wave series from Pan American Seed. And so there are 2 kinds of petunia, well, more than 2 kinds, but I can break them down into easily 2 categories. One is seed grown, and one is done from cuttings vegetatively propagated. And so what we're going to look at first here are all seed-grown petunias. And traditionally, seed-grown petunias don't last quite as long in the landscape. The seed-grown petunias really took I guess, really exploded when the Wave petunia came out, which is at least 20 years ago. The Wave was the first petunia, kind of ground cover type petunia. It was one of the first that didn't look like wet tissue paper after it rained on the flower. And they really have, expanded through the years. Wave is still a really good petunia. Tidal Wave came after that. It's more upright and spreading. But then there's all these other wonderful petunias that's come from all of that original breeding. And again, this is the Easy Wave series. Petunias do well in containers, hanging baskets, as well as the ground. You want to be sure your drainage is good in the ground. Also, you should never plant petunias in the same place. You should rotate them about on a 3-year rotation because there's some fungal issues that can build up in the soil and affect the petunias. So I try to work hard here at rotating them and not putting them in the same beds each year, moving them around. So coming on down, another Easy Wave. This is Easy Wave Silver. This looks a little similar, excuse me, a little similar to Tidal Wave Silver, but I love that tinge of purpley blue in the flower. White, blue, purple, yellow, those colors go with anything. You can always mix those all around with other plant material.
I'm noticing on the video it's hard to really see that blue coming out, but I'm going to put this purple beside it. Yeah, and that helps you.
Oh yeah, that makes a difference.
Be able to see the contrast where it does have that little bit of purpley blue that comes out from the center there.
We'll get back to petunias in a minute, but as we walk around, I want to mention a perennial we grew from seed this year. This is Echinacea. This is the Artisan Collection series, and we're looking at soft orange there. We also have red ombre in the collection as well. So these were planted from seed probably late March, sometime in March. And you can see they're flowering well. So less than 6 months from seed, actually about 3 or 4 months from seed. And right now they're anywhere from 6 to 12 inches tall. And they're well branched and flowering well. We have not deadheaded these. And again, with Echinacea, drainage is very important, especially during the winter months for them to be perennial. One advantage to seed-grown Echinacea is it's more affordable than the vegetative ones. And if, Echinacea, all Echinacea to me is short-lived. If you have a plant that lives more than 3 or 4 years in the garden, you're doing really, really well. But it will also reseed for you in the garden.
That's a good question. So I have, just your regular purple cone flower that reseeds. And so I don't even notice that it's a short-lived perennial because I have new plants that are generating themselves in that same area year after year. With these new colored cone flowers, do they come back true to seed? Like, could you count on that? Or
well, if you've got several different cultivars planted together, they're most likely going to cross-pollinate. But you can get some really fun things that way.
Yeah.
If you have one particular kind, most likely it's going to come back the same. Now, with the seed-grown ones, there is going to be a little variation. That's why I think this one's called soft orange. It's because, actually, you can see right here, there's a little variation from plant to plant. Of course, the age of the bloom has something to do with it as well.
Oh, I see.
But when we come on down here to the red ombre, you really see some variation in it. Again, age of the bloom has a little bit to do with it, but there is some variation in it. But that's fun. It makes life more interesting.
See, there's one that has a really good vibrant red, but it's a newer bloom. And then you can see it's, faded a little as the blooms age. That's a good example of several different aged blooms together.
So this one's really short right now, but again, next year, I'm sure it'll be a little bit taller in the landscape. And, it may only live a couple years, but again, being from seed ground, it's more affordable. And you can actually grow it from seed yourself. So a lot of these things, some plants grown from seed are not readily available on the retail market, but a lot of them are. So search around for that.
Now, colored cone flowers that people would find, like at their garden centers, are those vegetative?
Well, you'll find both. If you find, some old cultivars like Magnus and Magnus Supreme, the Cheyenne series, the All-American Selection winner, is Cheyenne's Skies? Is it Skies?
Spirit.
Cheyenne Spirit. That is a seed grown. Those are readily available. The Powwow series is seed grown, and those are readily available as well.
So a lot of the more populars.
Yes. So, all right, we'll touch on salvia just a minute. Yeah, again, we're walking through these beds, and we can't talk about one particular plant just in that bed because we kind of mix things up. But this is the Unplugged So Blue from Proven Winners. And I love this. This is a Farinaceae type salvia. Mealy cup sage is one of the common names. Great for pollinators. This
Yeah.
is wonderful cut flower.
Bees are on it right now. Can you see
So
that
again,
little?
this is vegetatively propagated, so you would not grow this yourself from seed. Got the label buried in here. Sorry about that. I love salvias, and I do have my favorites, as most people do, and I really do like the Farinaceae. We grow some from seed as well. There's one called Evolution Violet that I really like that I grow from seed. But again, this is done from cuttings or plugs that you would we would get sent in. So you would actually buy a plant of this. But look at the bumblebee on it this morning. So
Unplugged So Blue, I have that in a container, and it's doing great in the
oh
container.
yeah, it's a really good container plant.
and
as
it's
well.
actually in kind of like a shady-ish type kind of spot, and it's still blooming. So
Wow.
I'm excited.
Good cut flower. Also dry. You can dry it as well. All right, let's swing around the other side of the bed and talk about another salvia before we go back to petunias.
Here's our beautiful crepe myrtles. Give you a glance of those as we walk by. Look at those trunks.
So we just talked about a vegetative propagated salvia. Now we're going to talk about a seed grown one. And this is a new one. This is from Pan American Seed. So we planted this seed again back in March, maybe even early April. And this is salvia. What's the species?
Lancelot?
Yeah, the cultivar is Lancelot. And it is
Canariensis.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this. It's the first time we've grown it, but I love the velvety leaves that it has. And so I was a little bit concerned when we planted it. You know, sometimes things with real velvety leaves are not heat and humidity tolerant. Well, let me tell you, we've had over 3 weeks of 90 degrees and high humidity, and this is doing well. It's just beginning to flower. It reminds me a little bit of clary sage, you may be familiar with, which is a biennial. I actually read up on this, and it is hardy in zone 8. So we'll see what it does for us. There's a lot of things that have been winter hardy for us that are zone 8 plants because we've had mild winters. Drainage, again, is really important when you're talking about plants that are less tolerant to heat and humidity and also less hardy. So winter drainage will be very important on this. But isn't it a fun plant? Even if it didn't flower, just the foliage. Now let me show you here. If you'll back up just a little bit, Celeste.
It's so furry.
This is one plant. And when this went into the ground, it was about this tall.
Whoa.
It was a little bitty thing. And this would have went in sometime in May. But that is one plant. It's well branched and looking really good in the garden. So I'm excited about it.
That's cool.
Just beginning to flower, so we'll see what it does over the coming weeks, and we'll come back around and revisit it.
Awesome.
All right, we'll talk a little bit more about petunias, and then we'll maybe hit on some...
Is this one of your favorite coleus while we're here?
yeah, let's see. We'll come... Yeah, yes,
Okay.
It is.
I just
We'll
wanted
come back
to show
it in a
people
second.
that.
So again, these are seed-grown petunias. I just want to mention one here. This is Shockwave Purple Tie-Dye, again from Pan American Seed. And this is, with a lot of these that have the dark purples and blues that have white, or even some of them are spotted, when it gets really hot, it tends to go away. Well, sure enough, when we rated this at the end of June, there was very little white in it. Now, I don't quite understand because we've had a lot of heat, but it has cooled back off the last few days. Anyway, we're getting more white appear in the flower, so it kind of comes and goes. If you look at this branch here, it's all purple.
That's crazy.
But yeah, you're getting some variation in flower.
But look how fun it
colors in
is. It
here.
really is tie-dye-ish.
Yeah, it is. It is. So anyway, if you have some of these and you lose that tie-dye, or you lose the spots that some of them have, it's typically because of the heat. If you were in the north, it would keep that all summer long. But I think just the last 4 or 5 days of cooler temperatures have actually made some white come back in these. All right, let's mention coleus real quick. With the Color Blaze, this is Apple Brandy, and we'll go look at a few of the others. Love coleus. You know, there's really not a bad coleus out there. There are definitely some that flower more than others, and again, if it flowers, it can take away from the foliage itself. I will say coleus flowers do attract a lot of pollinators to the garden, though. So some people like to leave it for that. You know, coleus is in the same family as salvia, basil. If you look at the flower on it and basil, very similar. They're all in the I guess that's the mint family.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's walk on down and look at a couple of other coleus.
And you know, I have some coleus planted in the landscape for the first time this year, and they were getting kind of big, and so I didn't feel so bad about plucking a few stems off and stuck them in my little cut flower arrangement.
And you know they'll root too.
I know.
You can have
So
more
it's
plants.
like doubly fun.
So this is Dragon Heart from Ballflora plant. I'm excited about this one. It's new this year for us.
It's so
And,
vibrant.
Yeah, I love that. And here's a flower. And again, you could pluck that off. You know, I'm going to leave it. If it had a whole bunch, I might snip some off. But that is, again, it's a good pollinator plant as well. But they are breeding to prevent them from flying, because again, it makes a whole lot more foliage, and it is considered a foliage plant. Then as we come on down, yeah, I really like this one. Celeste just mentioned this is the Flame Thrower series from Ballflora plant. This is Cajun Spice, and I really like it. I like the crispness, the contrast in foliage color with that more maroony red, and then sort of a chartreuse around the edge. And then right behind it, not so much my favorite, but you know, everybody has their own, is the Sriracha. And again, that's in the Flame Thrower series from Ballflora plant. Just not quite as vibrant to me, but,
Right, yeah.
but still, I mean, good. Look at them. I mean, they're looking fabulous. Again, these would have been 3-inch pots that went in the ground. They might have been, you know, 4 or 5 inches tall when we were planted, and a couple inches wide. And so they've really taken off and looking good.
They're beautiful. It just depends on what kind of color combination you're wanting to go
here,
for.
You pan over. Of course, blue, as I mentioned earlier, goes with anything. But you know, look at this blue salvia with the coleus in the background. Really
It's pretty.
Really looks good. All
All
right, let's
right.
continue with some more petunias.
Whoa, that's beautiful. Look at that,
This
y'all.
bed, on this side at least, is mostly vegetatively propagated. So again, they're coming in to us as plugs, so you would actually buy a plant. You cannot buy seed for these. And a lot of these are the Surfinias, and Surfinias are from Suntory. And this is Surfinia Sumo Pink. Again, these do well in the ground as long as you got good drainage, but they also make good container plants, hanging baskets, large containers spilling over the sides. So
That
yeah, I
pink is
love that
impressive.
Sumo Pink, isn't that great?
A little darker than bubblegum, but still has, I mean, it's very pretty.
And then we've got this purple starshine. You know, a lot of these things, you know, this is my personal preference. This just seems old-fashioned to me. And I do love some old-fashioned things, but I guess petunias is not one of the old-fashioned things I like. But yeah, it's fine. Coming on down, Sumo Bold Lilac.
Sumo Bold Lilac.
And then Surfinia Sumo Plum.
Ooh, I like the
Yeah,
plum.
I like the plum.
It's a little more ruffly too, I feel like, even though it's in that same series. The bloom is just a little fancier, I think. How pretty.
Yes. And then from Proven Winners, the Super Tunian, you know, most of the Super Tunias are really good for us. This is Royal Velvet. You know, it's hard to come, seems like the deep purpley or even deep blue, white, and reds are a problem for us in the South. And I'm really impressed with this Royal Velvet. It's actually done quite well. You can see it's mat forming, carpet forming. Has done really good for us. So.
And let's be clear, I'm not sure why they ever did this, but petunias that are dark purple, they call them blue for some reason. It's the weirdest thing.
It is. You know, yeah. Carson and I were doing an evaluation, like, well, this is really not blue, or this is really not purple, you know. But, you know, they kind of run out of names sometimes.
Right.
And, I think
and then you go over here and they're calling, you know, something like that they'll refer to as a purple or...
Yeah. You know, the sky is blue. That's what I have to tell myself when I'm looking at things. The sky is blue. Love this Color Rush Pink from Ballflora plant.
Ooh, so pretty.
So Color Rush Pink to me is kind of the equivalent to Proven Winners Vista Bubblegum, Super Tunia Vista Bubblegum.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I love the fact that you've got these darker colors, and then I really wouldn't call it fade. It actually just ages to a little bit lighter color, but I love the contrast in colors there.
Really pretty.
All right, we'll swing on around to the other side and look at white, which is oftentimes not a good performer for us in the landscape, but we've got a really good white doing very well in the garden. And this is from Ballflora plant, and it's Color Rush White. Look at that, isn't that outstanding?
So
I'd say this is the best white by far we've ever had in the garden. So Really pleased with it
Wow.
and its performance in the garden.
And sometimes I don't like white in the garden because when the blooms fade, I feel like they turn kind of like brown and yucky. But these are so floriferous, it like covers up the scent
It does
blooms.
cover up the old, and you don't notice that the brown's so much in there.
So pretty.
A couple more Super Tunias. These actually a little bit better or actually much better in containers. We had so much rainfall here back in spring and early summer that some of the petunias are really suffering. And these are suffering a little bit just from the rain, but it's still doing well. Again, this is a little bitty plant that went in the ground. So this is Super Tunia Mini Vista Pink. And doing well. Again, great in container. And then Mini Vista Indigo. And then we've got one, the Sophinia not doing quite as well here, the Glacier Pink. I do like that color.
I do too. I'm going to do
a little bit.
Close up of the bloom. So you can see that bluey purple coming out in the center. And then the veins have a darker pink to them. That's a really pretty bloom.
We'll talk a little bit about salvia that's in this bed as well. This is Rockin' Blue Suede Shoes. Been on the market for a couple years now, but again, we all have our own opinions. Some salvias bloom non-stop all summer long, and this is not one of them. It's not been our experience, but when it's in flower, it's a beautiful color. And you can see there's lots of, it's already flowered once heavily, and there's a lot of new buds coming on, so it sort of surges, and lots of plants do that.
Yeah.
And some of the salvias are definitely known for that.
So we'll come back in a following week when this is really exploded with blooms.
Here right beside it is from Ball Anew. I'm excited about this. This is a new salvia.
Oh gosh.
It's a Farnesiae type, similar to the So Blue we just talked about. Obviously this is a taller growing version. And this is White Flame.
Whoa.
Again, from Ball Flora plant. And this never surges. It blooms all summer long. And so, you've got that non-stop bloom. Again, a good cut flower, also can be dried as well. And I tell you, if the sun was out, this would be covered in pollinators.
Yes.
It's a little cool this morning, which seems so odd to us.
I know, but it's
started
so
out in the
nice.
60s, which is unheard of. I feel like it's a fall day.
I know, I wore pants. You can tell I don't even have shorts on.
I
I
think
wore...
it's gonna rain, but we haven't got any
Look,
rain.
I
It's
got-
almost been 3 weeks now since we've got rain here. And it's rained all around us. And at my house, I got stuff rotting from the rain.
Oh,
40
gosh.
miles away. But anyway, I love this salvia.
There's a bee
so
right
isn't that
there.
fun? Oh yeah, there's just a bee.
He's kind of slow and sluggish this
Yeah,
morning.
it's a little cool on him. He's waving at us.
Yeah, I saw that little leg flopping up.
In between here, we used, I thought I was putting in King Tut, but I think I actually put in
Prince.
Tut. a little short. It was supposed to be up here. Got a little confused in the greenhouse. Sometimes in pots they're a little hard to tell apart, but I love Papyrus.
So do I.
Yeah, Papyrus, King Tut, Prince Tut from Proven Winners is a great plant. I like to use this. See if I can break one off. In arrangements, it's fun, like pumping around fireworks. If you got kids, this is a great toy.
Oh, Lane would
You can
love
have
that.
fun with it. Pretend it's a tail.
That's hilarious.
I love papyrus. Papyrus, you read about it growing in the Bible, growing on the banks of the Nile River. And when I was in Africa a few years ago, sure enough, we saw it in the wild. It was the dry season, so it didn't look so good. But when Proven Winners came out with King Tut, it really kind of opened up the availability of papyrus. It's been around forever, but opened up availability. So it will grow in a wet spot. You can find it. You can plant it on the side of your pond bank. It's not hardy. But you can put it in container in the pond or on the edge, but it'll also grow in just average garden soil as well. We also use it in containers here. You'll see when we feature our containers on one of these segments.
Lucas says on here, that could also be used as a duster in the home. I always love his humor.
And then this is Salvia Rockin' Fuchsia from Proven Winner. Again, it's kind of in between. It's surging. It's not flowering well right now, but you can see where it has.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of flower buds coming on.
And when
love that color.
Yes, me too. When it is in bloom, it will knock your socks off,
But,
y'all. It's beautiful.
Here we're looking at the flower itself, and this is the calyx. And great thing about this, the calyx is very attractive, even if there's not a flower on it. You've got
Right.
this nice dark calyx. And I've used this in arrangements once the flower falls off, just the calyx itself is attractive.
Yeah.
So Fun salvia.
I've got it in the ground and in pots at my house, and that, if you know me, you know that hot pinks and those bright neon-y purples are two of my most favorite colors, and I was so happy to get this salvia. Here, I'll put Rockin' Fuchsia is what it's called.
And it's readily available. It's been out a couple years now.
Cool.
All right, we're going to turn around and look at a bed of vinca. And
Whoa!
we are thrilled with this vinca. So this is the soiree. Am I saying that right, Carson?
Soiree.
Soiree.
A soiree. Think about like if you're going to a dance party, you're going to a soiree.
I've never been to one.
A soiree. I think I've been to a few.
So all the vinca in this bed is from Suntory, and we're thrilled with these. These are all on the market. They've been out for a couple years, and I saw them last year in Columbus at a trade show called Cultivate, and fell in love with them. Connected up with the Suntory rep, and they decided to participate in our trials this year. So we're really showcasing these. Again, they've been on the market, but aren't they fantastic? So
they are.
There's a whole series, and another word I can't say. Kauai.
Yeah.
So the Kauai series,
like Hawaii, but with a K.
The Kauai series all have small flowers. So if you look here, they're about the size of nickels, I would say.
Oh, they're so cute.
But they're cute little things. So this is one plant here. So again, this was a little guy. I'll have to tell you, when we had these in the greenhouse,
they were
a pain in the rear. They just weren't happy. We later found out that we need to put a little bit of iron on them, which helped them. But anyway, we put these things in the ground. Oh my gosh, they're fantastic. We also have them in pots, and I purchased some at our online plant sale and have them at my house, and just thrilled with them.
Same. So this is a first for me as well. I'd never used these in the garden, but I got some from Jason's sale this spring and put them kind of in a trouble spot where my hose won't reach. And I was worried about them initially, but man, they are looking gorgeous now.
So these are, unlike most vinca, these are vegetatively propagated, so they're not from seed, so you can't order seed. You actually have to purchase a plant. So there's a whole series of colors here of the Kauai series. I would say this one is different from all the rest. It's more of a trailing ground cover like
yeah, let me get so they can see.
All the rest are more upright in the series. So yeah, you can see how it's trailing here.
I'm down low, y'all.
I'm
doing a plant crawl.
Probably 18 inches across. It is a little brittle. I hear it snapping as I lift it up. I guess I shouldn't do that. So this would be good in a container as well. I mean, they're all good in containers, but this could actually spill over a container as well. So this is the Soiree Kauai.
Here, let me do it for you. Soiree Kauai pink.
Give me a Latin word. I can say that.
Catharanthus.
Yeah, there you go.
I struggle with those.
So Catharanthus is the genus of what we know as vinca, and we typically just refer to them as vinca.
And again, hot pink, my fave color.
Yeah, and then we've got, as we come by, we've got light purple. Here's where the names of the colors get a little confusing. Here we've got lavender.
Oh, and this one's even smaller. Itty bitty little guys. There's lavender.
Blueberry Kiss. I love Blueberry Kiss.
Oh, yes.
Coral Reef. Not my favorite, but you know, there's so many out here. There's one for everybody, or two or three for everybody.
Yeah.
This is a little more compact too, not as spreading, but a little more compact. And then we come around the front side.
Just look from here. I just want y'all to see this oceany wave of color. Look how beautiful.
Actually, while we're on this side, Celeste, let's talk about the doubles real quick, and then we'll finish up with the smaller ones. So there's also double in the series, and again in the greenhouse. Oh my gosh. I kind of call it death in a pot. They did not look good. But when we planted these out here, they really took off. I'm not a big fan of some double plants, and I didn't think I was going to be of these, but oh my gosh, I love them. Really, if you did not see the foliage, you probably wouldn't know these were vinca. They really don't particularly look like a vinca, because as far as I know, it's the first double vinca on the market. So, well, we've got two different ones in here. We've got the double pink and the double white, and the white is really not white.
Yeah, it's like a light pink.
It's a light pink, and I love mixing these together. Again, there's probably I don't know, in this planting there's probably 20 plants, so they do spread really nicely. And you come around the front side, well, look, there's one other color of the double.
Okay.
I don't know why I just didn't mix them all together, but I did.
I like the pink and the light pink together. I think they complement each other.
So this is double orchid.
Ooh.
And again, I feel like if we'd mixed one of the colors in with it, it would have brightened this up and
a little,
pretty.
yeah.
So, yeah. So
maybe the light, maybe the white.
Yes.
The white with it would be really.
And then back to the small flowered forms. Here we've got coral. So there's coral and coral wreath. This is coral. Isn't that fun? Love the little white eye on it.
This is another one of those itty bitty baby ones.
And then my favorite, and actually I think right now it's looking a little bit off, but it's been fantastic, is the white peppermint. Now white peppermint, again, a little bit smaller bloom than the others in the series, and the plant's a little bit more compact, but you know, white goes with everything, and I love that little pink center that it has.
It gives it a little pop.
And then the last one in the series is called Red Shades.
Mm.
And, you know, not really red, but
I think
it's a beautiful color. I love it as well. So
me too.
Really thrilled with the Suntory vincas that we have this year. And the grasses we have in the bed are Skyrocket Pennisetum from Proven Winners.
Is that an annual grass?
It is an annual, so that's an annual fountain grass. Pennisetum Cetaceum rubrum, which you would think would be purple.
Right, right.
But there's offshoots from rubrum, and this will occasionally revert back to it.
Oh.
Yeah, Skyrocket.
Well, it's pretty. You can see the plumes coming on now, and they've got a little tinge of color to them. So that's going to be a nice contrast with that variegation. That's pretty. All right, we've got a few more minutes.
Okay,
Do we want to feature another
Do
area?
one more bed?
Yeah, y'all want to hang on with us? We'll do another bed.
So we're going to be focusing on the annual trials for a couple weeks. So just stay tuned and come back. We'll see some of the other burns. But yeah, we want to hit one more today before we run out of time.
Ooh, look at them. You know, some people hate marigolds because they think they smell funky, but I must have a strange nose because I really like the way they smell.
I like the smell of marigolds as well, but you know, I do not like the smell of lantana. Actually, lantana gives me a headache.
Yeah, lantana has that pungent.
But Carson, on the other hand,
I love the smell of it.
she likes lantana as well. But
I feel like
yeah,
it's. Yeah,
I like the smell of marigolds.
I'm not opposed to it.
So we have a nematode problem in some of our beds, especially in the parking lot. And marigolds are one of the things you can grow if you have nematodes. So this is the Marvel series from Pan American Seed. This is Marvel 2 orange, and we have Marvel 2 yellow. And they're great marigolds. These are African marigolds. An African marigold is the bigger flowering plant that has larger blooms as opposed to the French, which marigolds are not from France. I don't know where that comes from.
I know, it's weird.
Yeah, just like the American boxwood. There's no native boxwood to America. But anyway, sorry, getting off on a different topic. But yeah, this is the African marigold, and with the large bloom. But you know, isn't it a great plant?
I love
Good
it.
for cut flowers. You know, if you're out in the Southwest or in Mexico, they string these up and let them dry on strands and
Really?
make kind of like lays out of them as well. So
Oh,
really
neat.
fun. I've tried that here. Our humidity is a little much. You'd have to take it inside and put a fan on it probably. You can't do it outside like you can in Santa Fe or Albuquerque. They just string them up and let them outside and they dry.
Jason, we have a question. I wasn't paying attention to the chat box. This goes back to the soiree vinca. They were asking, is that seed or plugs?
That's vegetative, so you would actually have to buy a plant. We get them in as plugs, but you would have to buy a plant at the nursery.
Okay, yeah, so
they
vegetative.
are not seed grown.
Got it. And then Lucas asked, are these all proven winners? So, well, those weren't.
All the vinca we just talked about was from
Suntory.
Suntory. Yes.
Right. Those
Now, Proven Winners, I think they also sell plants of other people's. So I think if you Google those vinca, you'll see it pop up as Proven Winners, but I don't think they actually own that plant.
Got it.
They also do Proven Selections. There's a lot of things that Proven Winners has that they don't actually are theirs. They also sell them and promote them as well because they're good plants. So you may see that when you Google on the web. Behind it here is been out 3 years now. This is Gomphrena truffula pink.
Ooh.
And truffula pink is from Proven Winners. It is a first cousin to Fireworks, which is from Pan American Seed. And Fireworks is a seed-grown version of this. Fireworks blooms, plants get about 3 by 3, where Truffula Pink is more 18 to 24. It is also sterile from my understanding, so it won't reseed.
Oh,
I like the fact
I
that
do
the
too.
fireworks reseeds.
I do too.
It starts blooming about, I'd say 3, maybe 4 weeks before fireworks. Fireworks has to get a little bigger. Again, this is grown from cutting, so you'd have to buy a plant of it. But I love all the Gomphrenias, and this is great for dried flowers. And if you look at it closely, I don't know if you can zoom in.
Yeah,
I don't think my phone
we
zooms
can.
that well, but the little yellow bits is actually the flower. And so that's where the pollinators, again, if the sun was out, this would be covered in pollinators. Gomphrenia is a great pollinator plant. Again, you'd have to buy a plant of Gomphrenia Truffula Pink. It's grown from plugs.
From plugs,
cuttings.
vegetatives.
Just want to mention a couple unusual celosia that's sent to us
Yeah.
this year from Pan American Seed, and I'm going to let you pronounce that.
Okay, so let's see. Sole, other lizard leaf, Celosia spicata.
All right, so this is really more a foliage celosia, and if you look at it, it's beginning to bloom a little bit, but here we are the 1st of August, and the foliage is really nice. It's real rubbery like. I love this pink vein in it here.
Yeah.
And again, it is about to bloom, but I think it's really being promoted more as a foliage plant.
And
so.
it's reminded me of a beet.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely, a purple beet leaf, yeah. And then beside it here
I
is-
saw this in the parking lot earlier,
Yeah.
and at first I thought it was basil, and I went to touch the leaf to see what fragrance it was, and then I was like, that's not basil.
So this is the gecko green.
Gecko
Celosia.
green. Celosia spicata, gecko green.
So again, this is grown more for its foliage. I don't even see flowers forming on it yet. But you look, this is one plant.
So pretty.
So yeah, it's interesting. Where we're standing right now, this gets shade over in the afternoon. Yeah, we've got them planted in some other locations as well. But it's doing quite well here.
Tell me about these beauties.
All right, yeah, let's talk about these elephant ears. So this is elephant ear coffee cups. And coffee cups has been around for quite some years, but Proven Winter sent it to us to just showcase. Yeah, let me show you another one here. So it
I'm
does
so
form
easily-
a cup, which collects the 1/10 inch of a rain that we had last night.
Or maybe just dew.
0.1. Yeah.
We might as well just call it a heavy dew.
Yeah, exactly. Birds and insects will come to this water and drink from it. And if you're actually out here while it's raining, when it fills up, it actually tilts over. So it might be fun to plant near your patio where you can sit under cover and watch it rain. And when it fills up
Yes.
again, it pours out.
And my kiddos would love that too.
And if you're a clean freak, then you have to come out here and clean it because it collects litter.
Good thing I'm not a clean freak.
And then my favorite, again, been around for several years, is Heart of the Jungle.
Oh.
And I love this big elephant ear. So
Me too.
we hope to have it for sale at our plant sale next spring, which, by the way, is always the first Saturday in May. But I love this one. Again, these were all, both the coffee cups and the Heart of the Jungle, were 3-inch pots that went in the ground. They were probably 6 inches or so when we planted them. Again, this would have been, time we got over here was probably close to late May when these went in the ground. So they have taken off. Also, if you look closely at Heart of the Jungle, it puts these runners on the ground and run around, which I think add to it. Some people think they're a little creepy, but you got these runners running along as well. So, the backs of the leaf, look at that back of the leaf. I love it with the light coming through. If the sun was out, it would really be.
If you are an amateur leaf caster like myself, this would be ideal.
These make great leaf castings, absolutely. So, all right, let's flip around the other side real quick before we run out of time.
And do you have any tips for growing those big elephant ears? I feel like I plant them and then mine get no larger than a caladium.
So, Kylie and John, they're just weird things.
They're weird.
Some years they do good for me, some years they don't. There's no, who knows? Who knows? All right, let's talk about zinnias a little bit. I love these Zahars. They've been out for quite a few years, but they're always improving them and working on them. And the rain we had a little bit earlier, again, it's been about 3 weeks since we had good rain, but we did have a lot there for a while. It kind of took a little bit of toll on them, and they're beginning to split just a little bit, but love that the...
Still really pretty.
Yeah, so the Profusion series and the Zaharas from Pan American Seed are hybrid zinnias between Zinnia, I believe I'm telling you right, Zinnia elegans and the Zinnia angustifolia. So they've built in some disease resistance. You don't get the powdery mildew and the diseases early in the year as you do on your Zinnia elegans. because it came in from the salvia angustifolia, the narrow leaf
Look,
zinnia.
very little leaf, disease at all.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of caterpillar damage, a little bit of grasshopper damage, but yeah, very little disease. So these don't make the best cut flowers because they're short. And if you're making a little arrangement, that's good.
Like a little bud vase or
One big
something.
advantage also is you don't have to deadhead these. They actually grow over the old flowers. So if you look down in there, you'll see some old ones, but they're hidden.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't have to worry about deadheading those. So they're like little hedges in the garden. And these are easy to grow from seed. You can grow these simply yourself. So there's white, there's bright orange, we've got Zahara cherry, Zahara salmon. So there's a whole bunch, again, the Zaharas and the profusions, and there's probably, if you put them all together, there's probably 15, 20 different kinds.
I like to use them kind of like at the fronts of my beds, just kind of like you have them here, with your bigger stuff in the back, just to give that color, that long period of color. I like to use these, and of course I'm always a fan of hot pink vinca.
All right, a couple of lantanas, and then we'll finish up with celosia. So this is a luscious Royal Cosmo from Proven Winter, and this has been around for several years, but I love this one.
I do too.
If you look here, it's kind of a salmony color, and then as it ages, it gets a deep pink on the flowers. So love lantanas. Most of the luscious series from Proven Winters is I think only a few of them are actually promoted as truly sterile, but I rarely ever see seed on these.
Okay.
So if you're in an area where lantana can be a problem, which is more coastal, Florida, California, that's definitely important. But one advantage to that is it doesn't, even here where it's not a problem, if it's producing seed, it's producing less flowers because it's having to put energy into the seed. Like the old confetti was a big seed producer, so it didn't flower quite as much. So again, this is Luscious Royal Cosmo from Proven Winter. And then new this year is Luscious Red Zone. And I do believe it's probably one of the redder of the lantanas on the market now. So I don't believe this was available this year, but it will be next year to the public. So look for Luscious Royal Red Zone. All the Luscious series have been really great for us. You probably Luscious Lemonade is one that we have grown for years, and we sell at our plant sale. There's
always like that one.
Yeah, there's a whole series of them that are really good. So, and then we'll end up here with back to celosia. We talked about one a few minutes ago from Pan American that did not flower. Well, these are ones that obviously are grown for the flowers. Again, if the sun was out, these would be covered with pollinators. The parasitic wasp, love them. The bees do. Really good pollinator plants. And so this is the first Flame series, and this is an improved version. So, once the plant comes out, it's good, but they may continue to breed it and even make it better. So oftentimes they'll add the word improved beside that name. So, and then as we come on down, First Flame Red. I love celosias for cut flowers. Many of them will also reseed in the garden if it's more than you want. They're easy to pull up. They will not necessarily be true to type, but they'll be similar. If they've reseeded for several years in a row, they'll really kind of vary from what they originally started out as. And then the last one here is Scarlet. And Scarlet's in a little bit more, I'm sorry, we're looking at purple now.
Oh, here's purple.
Yeah, so Purple Flame.
So pretty.
Celosia, there are three different kinds. They're crested, kind of like you may know, coxcomb. There is the plume, and then there's also wheat celosia we'll talk about one day when we talk about All-American selection. So, and this is First Flame Scarlet. As we move further into this bed, we're in more shade of the crepe myrtle here, so this one's not growing quite as vigorous, I think, just because of the root competition and the shade that we get from the crepe myrtle. So.
Well, I think that's all that we have for you all today, and I feel like it was a lot of information. We're working on our audio. Hopefully it was better today. Next week we're going to try some wireless lapels to see if that improves things any better. So we are so glad that you all were able to join us today. Again, if you have any questions about plants, plant diseases, plant pests, you can always give me a call at the UT Extension office in Madison County. The number there is 731-668-8543, or you can send me an email at cscott52@utk.edu. Of course, if you have questions about any of the stuff we've shown you today, you can always put some comments on the UT Gardens Jackson Facebook page. Jason and several of us try to keep up with those questions and comments. Jason, do you have any parting
Well, I do
words?
see one question here. There's a question about the elephant ear and how much sun can they take. Pretty much all elephant ears take full sun to shade. Some of them are more colorful in the sun. Alocasias, which is a little bit different than most of them. What we're looking at today is colocasia. Some of those require a little bit of shade, but yeah, elephant ears in general are sun loving. Again, they'll grow in the shade, they just may not be quite as colorful. So again, I want to invite you to visit all three locations: Knoxville on the Ag Campus, Crossville at the Research and Education Center there, and here in Jackson. All three gardens are open daylight to dark year round. Have a good afternoon.
Bye, y'all. Carson, you want to say bye?
Bye.
See you later. See you next week. We'll come up with a new topic for next week.